If you're anything like me, you've got a love-hate relationship with leaks. On one hand, they're fun and create great speculation conversations, which is one of the things we love doing here at fanatixfour. So it provides a lot of conversation starters, and they also get you excited for potential future game releases, just like an announcement would. But then there's the downside. Disappointment. Sometimes reality doesn't live up to the hype of the leaks and rumors, so instead of being excited about what did get announced, we just end up disappointed with what we didn't see instead. I know the couple of times that I've had an announcement from a direct spoiled for me, I've just mostly in the back of my mind been passively watching everything that's actually going on and just distracted by the fact that I know one of the things and it's gonna come sooner or later. So if you're like me, it might be worthwhile to have a conversation about how to spot those fake leaks so that you don't even need to worry about them in the first place. Let's talk about it. The very short answer to the question is a very simple one. It's a rumor until it's announced. Even the difference between a leak and a rumor is probably worth noting. We consider a lot of things leaks that really actually never were in the first place. Although unfortunately you can only really tell in retrospect. A leak is information that dropped directly from the source itself, and anything else is a rumor. So it's one of those all leaks are rumors, but not all rumors are leaks, that kind of a thing. So the obvious conclusion is don't trust anything or anyone, ever. At any time, isolation is the key to survival. I learned that from the movie The Happening. Not a good movie. But let's dive into some more of the minutia and find what red flags and roadblocks can be thrown up based on leaks that we've actually seen in the past. So let's start out by looking at a leak from the Nintendo Switch launch. To be honest, this leak seems to be the holy grail of what fake leakers try to emulate over and over. A random profile out of nowhere has accessibility to the information and is reckless with their NDAs. I am positive that with these events there's really strict wording and verbiage around what you are and aren't allowed to disclose. Nothing is what you're allowed to disclose from it until it's been publicly announced. Nintendo's super strict with their regular embargoes for games and media, so definitely they would be for this kind of thing as well. This leak on January 11th was posted by a Resetera user under the very simple pseudonym !UH9BL/X392 or Ghost. Ghost explained that the information was acquired by working on the setup for the Nintendo Switch launch event, which was only to happen a day and a half after the posting. And while some of the games were givens, like Breath of the Wild, others were complete unknowns. One that stands out in particular is ARMS. It's not a great title for a game, so that's not a really good guess if you were just kind of throwing things at a wall, but it turned out to be correct. Ghost also mentions 1-2 Switch, Snipper Clip, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, and a whole bunch more. And thus, the formula for other Switch leaks was born. It's someone who happened upon the information because of a real-life situation, with some concrete, obvious facts, some elaboration on things we already knew, like Super Mario Odyssey, we didn't know the title, and some stuff that's completely either made up or unknowns at the time. Nintendo's E3 2017. We see this formula in work already. Another popular form factor besides the 4chan or Resetera anonymous bullet point post is the dropped E3 presentation lineup document. This rumor starts off with another main trope we see. The first game is Mario Odyssey, which was a shoo-in, but immediately followed by Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. At the time, this game had actually been leaked already, and it was corroborated by a good number of sources. It seemed to be a really weird one, but it turned out to be accurate. So this is another popular leak tactic to look out for. It's placing the credibility of your leak based on something else that's already a rumor that has some substantiated information about it. So people see that one bit and be like, well, they know about that part, so it's all good. Something like that. The form factor for the document is fine, but the rest of the lineup includes a ton of titles that at the time would have been hard to write off at first glance, but we now know could not be further from accurate. Call of Duty World War II, Tekken 7, Pikmin 4, Overwatch, and a whole bunch more. Honestly, one of the biggest red flags and one of the things that annoys me the most about this kind of leak is it leans into confirmation bias and assumes Nintendo's never going to announce anything again after this. We actually did have a great number of games drop in Nintendo's E3 2017, but this leak was suggesting we were going to have 3D Mario, Xenoblade, Splatoon, Pikmin, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Mario Party, Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Maker, Smash Bros., 2D Metroid, No More Heroes, Metroid Prime, and a new Donkey Kong Country. On one hand, I would love all of that. On the other, I think we need to trust Nintendo a bit better to regulate their own timing. They're not gonna stick every single thing in one direct and then have us wait 3 years for all of it to come out with no surprises for that whole time. They know a bit better than that. So if you ever see a leak with everything in it, shrug it off, they're just looking for clout. Nintendo's E3 2018. We skip forward a whole year and see that the form factor has not died out. Once again, a leaker attempts to prove that they know what's up by throwing it all at the wall, but even if their lineup and titles were at all convincing, this leak has yet another red flag: formatting. Nintendo Life actually made a great video on this where Alex just went through the whole thing and helped point out every single area where the formatting was just awful. Extra spaces, incorrect or inconsistent spelling, and just dumb game names. This was also the leak that coined the hilarious Yoshi's Flipping Island. Once again, this leak also followed suit by hitching a ride on the back of a substantiated rumor or two with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which received their own slew of correct information prior to announcement. Long story short, this leak was lots of fun to look at, but hilariously incorrect. Which brings us to everybody's favorite, the Grinch leak. If you were at all invested in the launch cycle for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you certainly had a stance of a sort on the Grinch leak. This took the narrative element of the Ghost leak and bumped it up to 11. The content lineup wasn't all that impressive or incredulous, it simply showed that there were 5 more characters to be announced, and they happened to be ones that were very popular and highly requested. I personally wanted this leak to be true for a little while, and then it started to get a bit messy. Without going back through the details, the gist was that the identity of the leaker seemed to be confirmed as someone who would have had access, and even further, the leak was displayed as if it was accidentally published, which lent even further credibility for many, and furthermore was an absolute certainty for some. And that's where it started to turn south. As some media personnel started to talk about it, they speculated that this probably wasn't correct. Meanwhile, a lot of the fan base was assuming that it was more and more correct as time went on, which led to some of the weirdest conspiracy theories. Specifically that the gaming media was being paid off by Nintendo to deny the leaks just because Nintendo wanted to announce them later, something like that. I won't even go into why that's ridiculous. You can talk about it in the comments though. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that specifically. But needless to say, the Grinch leak was false, and we learned a couple lessons from the experience. Namely, that a more intricate story doesn't always mean higher credibility. It actually often means less. And furthermore, we learned that even if a single industry insider doesn't always have reliable knowledge, when we hear something from a lot of sources at once, it's pretty safe to say there's probably something there. But that does bring us to our last example, Metroid Prime Trilogy. Last year, before the Game Awards, it was almost unanimous that we would be seeing Metroid Prime Trilogy announced, likely in anticipation of a Metroid Prime 4 potentially in the works for 2019 or soon thereafter. And then all of a sudden, we got this. Which is arguably not the same as Metroid Prime Trilogy. This is a similar situation to what previously happened with Star Fox Grand Prix. Instead of a single user erroneously putting up information on the internet for everyone to see, a bunch of industry insiders got some sort of information that circles about throughout their groups. We got fairly reputable sources all having heard the same thing. And that is typically one of the more credible situations, but it doesn't account for a couple of things, specifically insider sources to them that may used to be credible, but maybe aren't anymore perhaps, or even the often quoted plans change. I do personally think Metroid Prime Trilogy was supposed to be at the Game Awards, but because of the delay of Metroid Prime 4, which we found out about a couple weeks later, they decided they had to scrap it at that point, and we'll hopefully get it at some point anyway. And I'm not sure with Star Fox, but I guess we'll find out at some point. But it does beg the question of known sources, who do we trust? I think the rule of thumb is giving as many grains of salt as a track record should warrant. There are some leakers or insiders that seem to have very strong or almost flawless records, but should still be taken with some hesitancy, such as King Zell or Liam Robertson. On the other hand, there are others who tout themselves as leakers, but seem to be wrong more often than they're right. I have noticed that often reputable sources will tell us to take what they say with a grain of salt, while the less reputable ones don't really say any of that. In all cases, proceed with caution, giving only as much leeway as their specific history should allow. And that's kind of subjective anyway. So the quick and dirty recap of what all to look out for is overhyping. When a leak seems too good to be true, just assume that it is. And if it turns out to be true, awesome. And if it's not, then you hopefully won't be disappointed. Number 2, presentation and formatting. If it's a post on Resetera, it's just a post on Resetera. It's gonna look like whatever it is. But if it's trying to pass off as an official Nintendo document, A, probably it's just fake. And then B, I guess you can look for spelling errors and stuff like that. Number 3, insider consensus. Though they're not infallible, these people do tend to have information that the general population doesn't have access to. So though you don't have to trust one or the other, perhaps keep a feel of what the common denominator is saying. Number 4, no one is infallible. Even your favorite leakers won't always have correct information. Some may have the best intentions but were given the wrong information, and others are just clout chasing. Number 5, grains of salt and all, but have fun. Nintendo Life's video on the E3 2018 fake leaks helped me realize that I don't always have to avoid fake leaks, because sometimes they're just funny. Assume they're not true, but they could be really fun to just speculate on if you want. But that's what I think. What do you think? Out of curiosity, what's the favorite leak that turned out to be fake in the past? Or what do you think about leaks in general, or how do you avoid them? What's your plumbing situation like at home? Do you need some? I don't know anyone to send your way. Leave all that kind of comments down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, leave a like on the video too. That would be really helpful. And then subscribe to fanatixfour, and also ring the alert bell, because that will be really helpful for you. For more videos like this every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then we also have a podcast every Saturday where we talk about this kind of stuff. We bring up your comments. We had a great old time last week. It's in video format now. I just keep saying that because I just keep saying it. So that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. Have fun out there with the E3 leaks and all. Hasta la pasta.